movement, and at In Movement we're interested in how play changes the way people work together.
So where did it all start?
Well, I'm a dancer and I've always wriggled and jiggled and moved around. I was sent to the doctors when I was 3 years old to sort out my wobbly ankles, and from then I've never stopped moving. It's not that just moving's been separate to my learning, it's actually formed part of my learning. And when I left university, I started doing all sorts of other courses that supported my role as artistic director of a dance company. And I would interpret things on these leadership and management courses kinesthetically and in a experience, felt-based way, that I would be asked to facilitate that with the rest of the group. And this led them to booking me on these courses, and then last year booking me to deliver on these courses, and then last year I decided, well, maybe I could set up my own company, and this is working. It's getting a really good response from people. Other people learn in this way. They don't just learn by having things thrown at them and hoping that some of it will stick, and they're wanting their learning to be deeper and go further.
So this is kind of moving away from a shallow cognitive form of learning, where people just kind of sit passively and have stuff thrown at them from PowerPoint.
Yeah.
This is about learning through experiencing something.
Yeah,
experiencing movement.
Yeah, learning through experiencing something, and in order to do that, our body has to be involved, so we end up moving. But it's learning through experiencing something and then being able to reflect on it. Being able to reflect on, okay, so what happened there? What decisions did I make? What did somebody else do? That was interesting. I want to know more about that. So it's really individual-based learning, but then being able to have a conversation and sharing that with others to make sense of it. So within a business environment, this is all about communication, engagement, interaction, some of the key things to enable a business to grow. You can't do it without those elements.
So could you give us some examples of, some exercises or some things that you do with clients in a group setting?
Well, often there's no tables and chairs and there's no PowerPoint, so we need plenty of space to move around in. I will start with a ball game normally, because people kind of go play, ball, okay, that makes sense. I need to start where people are at, where they understand. So I've normally play a game first of all which has got 2 rules. Always throw the ball to the same person, and if you can, remember who throws the ball to you. So we start by throwing this ball around a circle, and it goes on one route as we do it, and we get used to doing that same route, and it gets faster and faster. The longer we play the game, the more balls I throw in, and you should be able to get the same number of balls in the game as there are playing, so it's like mass group juggling. But normally what happens is that people are throwing it to the side and making it too difficult for people to catch, too low, too fast. They're not focusing on who they need to throw it to, they're just chucking them everywhere. Sometimes people get really distracted by everything else that's going on, when you actually only need to focus on 2 people. There's lots of stuff we evaluate from this game. People fall about laughing, but then actually get to see and evaluate very quickly how this team works and how they interact. We then move the game on by taking out the resource and adding in more movement, so that we actually move around the space, because that's a circle is a very static shape. It's a very safe place for people to learn in, that we're used to, but life isn't like that. Everybody moves around and then changes all the time, so the game develops so that we move through the space in different ways.
So tell us how you help the clients to interpret what's gone on. What are you helping them to glean from the experience?
So normally after we've played a game, I will ask what happened, what did you find interesting, what did you experience, what do you feel like, and I get all sorts of jumbled up mess. But we pick out a few things that we might focus on. Everybody also gets to reflect individually, so I have a series of questions that they can go back and scribble any things on, that then we might facilitate a discussion around, because I can ask, did you want to ask any questions of anybody else? And normally they do want to say, well, why did you do that? I was never expecting anybody to do that, or I felt like I couldn't do this because, and then we link this to how they might work in the work environment.
But just help us make that link, if you would.
Okay, so if somebody has said, you always threw the ball way out to the side. Why could I never catch it? Then this person, I'm thinking of somebody in particular that did this, realise that everything they do was to make things difficult for everybody else. That was the game they wanted to play within the office environment. He enjoyed it, and I have to say, to a certain extent, the rest of the team let him do that, kind of take on that role. But what he wanted to do was to be taken more seriously, and he realised in order to do that, he needed to pay more attention to the others in the team and how he might respond and react to what they were doing.
So this is actually unearthing some potential tensions between working groups.
Yeah, it does.
Does that not lead to a problem occasionally? Do you have to stop fights breaking out?
We don't have to stop any fights breaking out. Sometimes it does unearth tensions. I do have to be aware that sometimes I'm only working with teams for 1 hour a month. So there has to kind of be that follow-up support if it does.
Yes.
But normally people have already recognised, if it comes out like that, it's something that's on the surface anyway, it's ready to come out.
Yes.
So it does unearth some tensions, but that's in order for the team to move forward.
That's
what it needs to happen.
Yes.
And we've done it in a way that's safe. We've done it in a fun, enjoyable way that everybody's done this together. In the workplace, there's often a hierarchy, or if not a hierarchy, everybody's got their role and they're expected to just play that one particular role, and they don't often get that crossing over or the interacting and things, how things can merge. In play, what happens is that it forms a level playing field, and it equalises everything within the workplace. In order to make it work, everybody has to play their part, which is really important in any business. It's not just about I'll do my thing and then I'll get off home. It's more about how we're all finding some kind of common purpose, some kind of shared understanding, and we're all going to move that forward together. The other area is in the workplace that people are very concerned about what things look like to other people. So they are concerned about what their peers might think, or their boss might think, or their clients might think, based on what it looks like rather than what is actually going on underneath. And so what happens in play is we get to find out more about that real chunky stuff rather than just surface level visual, because it really, people understand it. They go, well, the reason I am doing this is because this, and this. They know why they're doing what they're doing, and that's more important than it just being because they've told me so.
So having them at play and in movement helps to release that sort of surface perception that it's got to look right.
Yeah, definitely.
And it allows people to go a little bit deeper into who they really are and how they express themselves. Yeah,
because when people play, they relax, and when people relax, they open up a little bit more. And once they're open up, they're more receptive to learning.
Yes.
They're in that place where they can take in more, and therefore we can see more change within the work environment.
In a seminar environment, I guess people go in, their arms are folded, they're quite defensive. Oh, I've heard all this before. Yeah,
when people walk in the room, they're not very happy. I do like to be able to find, there are some chairs in the room that people can go and state their territory, but we do need space to move around in, and that is not what people are used to when they come into a learning environment. So people are often staring at me and a bit confused, and I normally put a piece of paper on people's chairs that says, if you can just write down a couple of words to say what you're feeling right now, that would be great. Some people don't like that. Some people write down, this is going to be awful, why am I here? They're really honest in it, and that really helps me, because then I can see where I've shifted them. But it's very important that within that first game, so the ball game really does get people within 30 seconds, they're in it, they've jumped in wholeheartedly, and that's what it needs to do, because otherwise this training doesn't work. It's got to be about people wholeheartedly finding a way to join in.
So just a double-headed question, if I may now. The types of clients that you're working with and the sorts of outcomes that they're finding from this.
So 2 types of clients that I'm focusing on. One of them are geographically diverse teams, so groups of people who only get together every so often, and when they get together they really do need to make the most of their time together and get past all that kind of anxiety that can be there at the beginning, and that grumpiness and reluctance that we can have at the beginning, and get straight into that way of working. So I've done a lot of work with retail clients, Salesforce clients that want to make the most of their time together and get their communication open and flowing straight away. The other type of client I'm looking for is growing businesses. So businesses that have set up around somebody who really knows what they're doing. They really know their field really well. So say this was a digital agency, it could be somebody who really knows stuff about websites or the tech stuff or the geeky stuff, that kind of thing. And their business has grown so quickly, they've found themselves, now they've got 15 staff, but they don't know how to manage people, and their turnover of staff is quite high. Yes. This is happening a lot, particularly within creative industries. There's a lot of businesses that are growing up very quickly, and it's also got a strong culture of freelancing, so it's easy to find staff to swap in and out all the time. So what I do with those businesses is I go on and work for 1 hour a month for 6 months. They don't have any time for training, they don't have any money for training, they don't have a culture of learning and development apart from going to the pub on a Friday night. So this works. It's an hour in their place of work. 6 months we get to see and monitor the change, and because it's play, because it's movement, it has that highest form of engagement straight away. We get the most out of that hour together, and then they get on to work for the rest of the time. What I'm really passionate about is changing the culture of learning. This might be something that's been done before, but I'm really not interested in supporting cognitive-based learning, and most places I go to, that is what it starts with. I'm not saying that cognitive-based learning doesn't come into what I'm doing, but it's not the starting point. The starting point is going to be on experience, on the body, and how we interact and move through what is happening to find out what that means to me. So it's a lot more questioning and it's a lot more exploratory. So I feel like this could go into many different places, into education. I like working with adults in businesses because I feel like if they get it, if they understand this way of learning, then we might be able to build out more of a movement and more of a community that actually we can take this out to other places. And so I don't know where it can go, but I'm really excited to see where it could go.
Well, I wish you the best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you.